Coming up on We Talk News this week.
Our nation with this election has a precious, fleeting opportunity to move past the bitterness, cynicism, and divisive battles of the past, a chance to chart a new way forward.
So will that include federal cannabis reform? One U.S. senator says if elected, VP Kamala Harris will be ready to sign a federal reform bill. While the GOP continues to live in the past when two senators call a marijuana gateway drug and oppose the rescheduling of cannabis to Schedule III of the CSA. And Ohio doubles the total of their first week of sales as 130 Ohio dispensaries are now open for adult use. Plus, results from a new Gallup poll that shows once again American adults believe that cannabis is less harmful than alcohol. Yet, some media are spinning the same poll results and reporting that a slim majority believe cannabis has a negative effect on its users and society as a whole. In the nation's #1 cannabis market, a California brand is challenging the reasons for a state recall of their products by the Cannabis Regulatory Board. Glass House Brands has been ghosted by that board while just asking for basic communication like why and where did the state get those tests anyway. And in Massachusetts this weekend, a gang of online influencers all go live at 420 as a protest of how they're being treated on social media platforms.
We're here to spark a change. Instagram, stop shadow banning us. Facebook, stop shadow banning us.
All that and coast-to-coast cannabis news on We Talk News with Alaina Pinto. Next.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to We Talk News, Pro Cannabis Media's weekly production of cannabis news from coast to coast. I'm Alaina Pinto. Now that Kamala Harris is the official presidential candidate for the Democratic Party, there's no doubt which of the two people running for office is the more friendly one to cannabis and the reform movement. But sure enough, some GOP senators are making noise about rescheduling, though still clinging to the gateway theory that has been debunked by thousands of studies over the last few decades. Needless to say, with just over 70 days left before the November election, the rhetoric is heating up in our nation's capital, and Andrew Behringer shares his perspective on the chances for federal reform in his DC Cannabis report.
I'm Andrew Behringer, and this is the DC Area Report for We Talk News. As the 2024 presidential race heats up, cannabis policy reform has emerged as a key issue with candidates across the political spectrum weighing in. Some have called on Democrats to follow through on federal cannabis reform, urging them to make ending the drug war a centerpiece of their agenda. Now, this comes as Vice President Kamala Harris, now the Democratic presidential nominee, has a history of advocating for cannabis legalization, including sponsoring a comprehensive bill in the Senate. However, the Democratic National Committee's 2024 platform stopped just short of explicitly endorsing decriminalization, instead highlighting the Biden administration's cannabis pardons and rescheduling directive. The DNC has faced criticism for overstating progress, suggesting on social media that cannabis has already been rescheduled. President Biden, while maintaining opposition to broader reform, has taken steps towards change. His administration directed a review of cannabis rescheduling, resulting in the Justice Department recommendation to move cannabis from a Schedule I to a Schedule III. Biden also issued cannabis pardons and was praised by reform advocates. On the Republican side, former President Trump has recently indicated a softening stance on decriminalization, citing the growing state-level legalization movement. During his presidency, Trump largely maintained a hands-off approach to state cannabis laws and even criticized his own attorney general for rescinding Obama-era enforcement guidance. The Harris-Walz ticket brings a strong pro-cannabis reform record, while Minnesota Governor Tim Walz having signed a comprehensive legalization bill into law in 2023. Democratic senators predict that a Harris presidency would lead to more momentum on cannabis legalization at both state and the federal levels. Public opinion seems to align with reform efforts, with recent polls showing majority support for cannabis legalization in key battleground states in the upcoming election. However, critics continue to point to Harris's prosecutional record on cannabis as a potential weakness. As we approach the election, the contrast between candidates on the issue is stark. While the Biden-Harris administration has taken incremental steps towards reform, advocates like Cornel West are pushing for more comprehensive changes. Trump's evolving stance adds another layer of complexity to the debate. With cannabis policy reforming gaining traction across party lines, it's clear that cannabis will be a significant issue in the 2024 presidential race. Voters will be watching closely to see how candidates address these evolving issues of the landscape around drug policy reform. I'm Andrew Behringer reporting for We Talk News.
Our next story is about the latest Gallup poll. The results expose how attitudes are changing towards cannabis in this country. It also shows that depending on what your opinion is, anyone can spin the results to fit their narrative. For instance, you might find traditional TV networks reporting on the negative results, as opposed to what we do, which is give the industry a voice. Especially when you have only surveyed 1,000 people, and even if you are a respected pollster group like Gallup, you have to look at the questions asked and the various answers shared. So here's one headline. Gallup poll. Americans say marijuana is less harmful than alcohol or tobacco. The same poll with other headlines claiming that since 2022, Americans' view of the effects of marijuana worsen. Same poll, different spins on the data. 54% say the effects have worsened over the past 2 years, and 51% say it negatively impacts society and the people who use it. Well, here's the skinny. Multiple groups of the just over 1,000 people polled said that they think the plant has a positive effect on others. And now the other side says it has a negative impact. Bottom line here, the percentage difference is small. That allows analysis of the data to fit whatever your opinion is. When the margins are 2 to 4% and the range of error is in that 3 to 5% range, shouldn't the conclusions be just thrown out? Well, everyone's opinion now is being supported by their own interpretation of the data. So whatever the numbers say that aligns with your own narrative is now available to consumers online. Now let's check in with Joe Parsons in Virginia for his weekly report from the Old Dominion state.
I'm Joe Parsons with the Virginia Cannabis Connection, and this is the Virginia Cannabis Report on We Talk News. The Virginia Cannabis Control Authority released a new toolkit this week targeted at college-age residents between 18 and 21. The new toolkit is designed to help young adults make safe and informative decisions. This informative toolkit covers topics such as cannabis laws, responsible use strategies, effects of cannabis on the brain and the body. It also includes topics like safe and sober driving, secure cannabis storage, and even travel and mail safety. Acting Head and Chief Officer of Regulatory Policy and External Affairs, Jeremy Priest, he said, "Young adulthood is an important development period. Understanding the laws and facts regarding cannabis is particularly important during this time. The toolkit offers valuable information to young adults about cannabis and promotes responsible behavior within their social circles." This free toolkit is available on the Virginia Cannabis Control Authority's website and a link on X. There's a follow-up on the dynamic duo of Aqualung and the Pack Piper. The limited edition comic book series from higher education and comic artist Jeffrey Peterson is almost ready for their 4th episode. I was even able to get a sneak peek of the new cover, courtesy of Don Morris of Higher Education. This latest exciting installment is in its final stages and should be ready in time for Christmas this year. This one is a limited edition, though, so there's only going to be 1,000 copies. So if you're interested in this one or the past 3 episodes, please reach out to Don or Seth at highereducationva.com for more information on how to order. I, for one, am super excited to see what's in store for our super cannabis heroes. Well, that's going to do it for this week from the Virginia Cannabis Connection. I'm Joe Parsons reporting from Weed Talk News. Till next time, stay lifted.
It's the second week of adult use sales in Ohio, and now there are 130 former medical-only dispensaries now selling to all adults over 21. The first 5 days of sales brought in $11 million, but now with an increase in the number of stores selling the product, that number has doubled to $22 million. And now people are predicting another billion-dollar state. Here's a look at the top states for sales in July. California remains number one with $367 million, followed by Michigan with $286 million. Illinois is third, Massachusetts fourth, and Missouri fifth, with $123 million sold in that state. So what happened to Arizona? Once considered a model state for the transition from medical to adult use, now sales are down, and Karen Black tries to figure out why that is in her Arizona Cannabis Report.
I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting with the Arizona Cannabis Report for Weed Talk News. The Grand Canyon State's cannabis market is going through some growing pains. Adult use and medical sales through June 2024 are down 11% year over year. And there are 20 more dispensaries than in June of 23, which may have something to do with the 31.6% decline in average revenue per dispensary in nearly the same period. Despite these numbers, valuations of Arizona cannabis companies remain strong. In business news, Verano Holdings closed on its acquisition of the Cannabis Co.'s Arizona assets, which include 2 dispensaries, an active cultivation, and a production facility for a cool $15 million cash. Vext Sciences announced its second quarter 24 earnings. Vext revenue was up a little over the first quarter, but down over 8% compared to the second quarter last year. The company reported a net loss of over $4 million, quite a change from the $500,000 profit in 2Q23. Vext adjusted EBITDA was $1.1 million, and margin improved 1.5 points to 12.9%. With Arizona filling the squeeze, Vext is betting big on the Buckeye State. Elsewhere in Arizona, Curaleaf's Arizona dispensaries are wrapping up a company-wide month-long Feed the Block fundraiser. For every purchase made in August, Curaleaf donates a portion of the proceeds to help provide meals for families facing food insecurity.
And that's television.
Tucson's D2 Dispensaries is celebrating its 11th anniversary. Also in the Old Pueblo, Tucson Doobie held another of its pop-up extravaganza events August 23rd. Back here in Phoenix, M-Fused held a swanky launch party for its M-Fog product, which I'm told lives up to its name. And finally, Rose Law Group, which has a prominent cannabis practice, was named one of the top companies to work for in 2024 by the Arizona Capital Times. That will do it for this week's Arizona Cannabis Report. I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting reporting for Weed Talk News.
Whether they embrace it or not, the cannabis industry has a very active supply and demand market in every legal state. Price fluctuations based on inventory is something every legal adult use state in the union is learning through operation. This is especially true in a state like Oregon, a state that always has more grown than what can be sold. According to the Global Index Price of Marijuana, the average cost of an ounce of high-quality cannabis is $326, with the highest price in Virginia of $365 and the lowest in Oregon of $211. Well, even here in Massachusetts, where the supply is greater than the demand, some dispensaries have been forced to lower their price for an ounce to $50 for shake and $99 for buds. By current law, the industry can only sell state-grown flower since there is no official legal interstate commerce. Well, our Oregon reporter is Marianne Cursetjee, who explains the grim reality in her state.
I'm Marianne from Alibi with this week's Oregon Cannabis Report for Weed Talk News. According to the Green Market Report, the national average for an ounce of cannabis is approximately $290. Oregon, sadly, is the lowest at $199. This is troublesome because the outdoor harvest hasn't hit the market yet. Right now, it's light dep season, and it'll be a couple months until outdoor hits. Prices usually drop after outdoor flower becomes available. Most cultivators are feeling the pinch and struggling to be profitable. And next, iconic duo Cheech and Chong are entering the Oregon market through an agreement with Doghouse Farms. Doghouse Farms has operations in Oregon, Washington, and Michigan, and is known for their commitment to quality, and this should be an exciting collaboration. And finally, Oregon State University released more information about its research into hop-latent viroid. This viroid is common in hop plants and has infected cannabis and hemp plants. Plants showing signs of hop-latent viroid disease, HLVD, exhibit dudding, which greatly reduces yield and potency. It has been estimated that 90% of cannabis farms in California have infected plants. OSU is leading research into how to prevent and slow down transmission. For now, the best guidance is to soak any tools in at least 10% bleach solution in between plants and to discard any infected plants. That's the Oregon Cannabis Report for this week. I'm Marianne with Alibi for Weed Talk News.
That'll do it for the A Block, and coming up on We Talk News, more state-to-state reports and a story about a networking event and influencer protest in Greenfield, Massachusetts. That also featured PCM founder Jimmy Young on a media panel. We Talk News will be back after this.
Ready to take your craft to the next level? Imagine faster extractions, purer products, and more profits. Sounds good, right? At Pure 5 Extraction, we've revolutionized cannabis extraction with our game-changing technology. No solvents, no heat, just the cleanest, most natural process on the market. Whether you're a boutique grower or a large-scale operation, Pure 5 has the tools to elevate your business worldwide. Visit pure5extraction.com today. Pure 5 Extraction, because your plants deserve the best.